this is a good time to say, hey, what did the left do that we didn't do that made them so successful, at least apparently, right? On the apparent level, like they literally have their agenda out there and we don't really have our agenda out there at all. All right, it's not a secret that all around the world the left has been organized, had been planning, had been taken over literally everywhere. Even in Georgia, there are protests right now, okay? I don't know if there is a country that doesn't suffer from protesting and instability right now anywhere in the world. If you live in one, let me know, because, oh my God, how did you miss that bullet? That would be amazing. But I saw this conversation that Moshe Feiglin had, and I think the best way I can describe him ideologically, he is a lot like Javier Milei in Israel. His party did not end up being in the parliament, but I know my brother voted for him. Unfortunately, that was one wasted vote that happened. But now he has this very interesting resurgence where he talks about why does the right fail against the left, right? Because, it is also time for us to do some honest soul digging and understand that the right had been sleeping, the left had been taking advantage of the fact that the right and the more freedom and patriotic kind of thinking people were basically asleep on the wheel and lost control completely on the direction that they're going. So let's watch the clip, shall we? It's in Hebrew. I'll translate it. Start with argumentation, of course. This is a proof that is from Israel because people are like arguing passionately. And it's like, are you a pragmatic person or not? Are you being like realistic or not? What are you gonna give up on? And he says, I'm gonna give up on the economy, on education, and anything that is needed for security, because security is number one. On principle, life is more important than anything. Now we need to win. It's funny the video starts like that because it starts with this argument and then it goes to the actual part where he explains, what I was given an intro for. I'm not arguing with you because I'm agreeing with you. What's here to argue? Just because Gali said that politics is art. Politics is the art of what's possible, and does it mean that I understand it? Do you really think I don't understand it? I mean, that's unrelated. I'm gonna keep it just for the fun of watching how normal it is when you have any kind of conference that involves Israelis. That's very real. Whenever, okay, so that's interesting. In any reality, there would be 1,001 things that block you. And you cannot do not even half or even not a quarter of what you want to do. But you have to wait for this slither of opportunity, for this one moment. You can apply something out of your vision. And I think this is what the left was doing. Like, they were quiet down, and every slither of opportunity that they had to change the narrative, even in the most slightest ways, those slight little ways like built up during the years to be a complete like repainting of reality, which is amazing, like the amount of patience they had.
ככה ביבי עובד, ככה הוא הביא את הסכם האמירויות.
And I'm saying this is how Bibi is working This is how he brought the Abraham Accords. But
חבר'ה, אני עכשיו בזכות דיבור.
he's talking to other right-wing leaders and like he's saying, no, what the Bibi is doing and what his party is doing is not enough. Like, yes, Bibi is known to be an opportunist trying to promote their agenda, his agenda, like by looking for an opportunity. But the biggest claim right now is that, yes, he does that, but he's being way too smart about it. I mean, like, people end up being like just confused, right? So what's the end goal? Where are you going? Like he's trying to show that you have to have that thing clear so people would be able to follow you. This is how there's like even the Oslo agreement, right? When we brought those terrorists from Tunisia, Israel brought those terrorists from Tunisia. I don't know whose idea it was, the KGB's idea, the American idea. Somebody here lost their minds. If it was Shimon Peres who went, it's not that it was like always loose a little bit. But no matter what, they were not the majority. They were the minority, like a neglectable minority. They look for the opportunity to disengage from the West Bank and to bring somebody else to, deal with this problem for them, kinda, as if, right? But in reality, just, I don't know. I'll never understand the way the left thinks. I don't think they think. But yeah, they saw that opportunity and they just went for it. It doesn't matter that nobody wanted that. And it brought a disaster both on us and the Palestinians, like bringing an arch terrorist from Tunisia that is not a tall Palestinian. Yasser Arafat is not Palestinian. To be like this father of the made-up Palestinian identity and ruin their future and our future. See, like the left does that. They take any opportunity they can.
וזה לרוב שינה פה את כל המציאות הגיאופוליטית. רק למה? כי פתאום אפשר היה לממש את החזון.
Like they saw an opportunity and they got it managed.
אפשר היה לממש את החזון שלך ושלי.
And now it's the 7th of October. We have an opportunity to actually bring the vision that we have back. Bring Gaza back to our control. Give Gaza back to our children, because Jews they've been living in Gaza. They never stopped living in Gaza. They were actually evacuated from Gaza in the beginning of the 20th century and also by the Brits. And then they tried to come back, and then they got evacuated by the Egyptians. And then they went back and they got evacuated by their own people, like by their own government, so that the Palestinians could rule themselves and like have this awful experiment that went completely berserk, like right away that we're seeing now, which is the Hamas taking over, which everybody knew that's what's going to happen. But that's what the left does, right? It looks for opportunities and just takes it, no matter how many lives are going to get ruined from it. And they don't look for majority. They do it when they're a minority. They don't look for majority. They just apply their vision without getting any consensus on it. Like they change the narrative. In Hebrew, we call it shitat matzliach. It's like you miscalculate something, so somebody would pay more for you. And if they caught it, then they're like, oh, oops, I miscalculated. And if they didn't catch it, then it's their problem. So it's shitat matzliach. It's like, if you succeeded, amazing, you got the extra money. If you didn't succeed, you're like, oh, I did the math wrong.
להחזיר לידינו את עזה. לגרש את הערבים. ליישב...
So he's saying, why does the left manage to do it as a minority, like as a minority opinion? Why do they manage to make their wishes come true and the right doesn't? It's because the right doesn't have a vision. That's what's wrong. Like the right doesn't have a vision.
למה השמאל מצליח לממש את החזון? פשוט כי יש לו. אני מודה לך על השאלה. אמנם היה לך ב7 באוקטובר רגע שבו יכולת לעשות מה שאתה רוצה בלי התנגדות, אבל הרגע זה עבר, ועכשיו אין לך ברירה כדי לשרוד, אתה תצטרך לעשות את זה עם...
So they're saying, okay, so after the 7th of October, there was a slither of a moment where you could have done what's needed to be done without resistance, but that wasn't enacted fast enough. And now everything that we have to do with resistance, because we don't jump on opportunities when they come.
עם התנגדות. הבנת?
I do think, though, that he's oversimplifying it, because there are... The left, what they did is like they put their own actors in like key positions that make sure that if the right wants to enact something, they would be slow to do because like you can see it in the UK now, right? Where Sunak or Suella government try to tell their own, bureaucratic workers to apply a certain. And they wouldn't do it. Like their bureaucracy wouldn't apply what the ministers tell them to do. This is what the left did. Like they have penetrated everywhere, and they have, the biggest difference is like between the right and left. And I would say like, I don't know, like let's say patriotic people versus the globalists, is that the globalists have learned that the cause is more important than what's right and wrong, right? If the patriotic person says, hey, we're living in democracy, even if I don't like something, I have to work according to the majority vote and what was decided democratically, even if I'm personally am against it, the globalists would say, if somebody tells me to do something that I'm against, I'm just not going to do it. And that's the biggest difference. This is why the right can't even enact their policies.
אם אין לך את אותו משהו למענו תחיה, לא תוכל להתגבר על שום איך. זה משפט של ניטשה.
So I'm saying, if you have a clear vision, then you're going to find the how to make it happen. And
לי יש איזה משהו למענו בכלל, כל הסיפור הזה קם.
That's a good question. Like, do the patriotic people have a vision, a clear vision of what they want? How does the UK supposed to look like? How does America supposed to look like? Is there a clear vision there?
האקספרימנט הציוני הזה קם. זה לא סוד שאת כל המפעל הציוני מלווים מראשית דרכו שני חזונות.
So I'm saying it's not a secret that since the establishment of the Zionistic vision movement, there are actually two visions that accompany it. The classical Jewish vision, where that was true for especially initially, and a new vision that was maybe on the third wave of modern Zionistic immigration, which are, as he says, like about 1,000 or 1,500 people that came with a globalist, socialist, communistic vision, which is different from the classical Jewish vision. And this is why they define themselves not as Jews, but as Israeli, trying to actually say, okay, we're creating something new, and distance themselves from the Jewish ideology and also the Jewish vision, which if you know Judaism, you'd know that Israel is a huge part of what it is being Jewish.
שני אתוסים מכוננים ולכאורה סותרים. החזון היהודי והחזון הישראלי. החזון האמוני והחזון האזרחי. אוקיי? זה לא סוד. מי שהגיע לכאן פחות או יותר עד לעלייה
international kind of vision where it's like, okay, we're going to have a Jewish country and it's going to be the country like any other country, versus the vision of, no, this country is Jewish and we have our unique long history. We don't need to be like other nations that just happen to speak Hebrew. No, we have a completely different kind of identity and thinking, which is the classical Jewish mentality.
ימי הציונות, ודאי שהעליות שקדמו לציונות, אבל גם העלייה הראשונה, היו אנשים שבאו בגלל החזון היהודי. אחרי מותו של הרצל ב-1904, אם אני לא טועה, עלו לכאן 1,000-1,500 צעירים עם חזון אחר, קומוניסטי.
Yeah, he's saying the communist socialist people came to Israel only after Herzl had already passed.
סוציאליסטי ישראלי במקום יהודי. מי שכבר לא יכול להיות יהודי
Those who
הופך
cannot
לישראלי.
be Jewish are now Israeli. And like I said, those who are communists, those who do not live by the 10th commandment, which is basically the way you think if you're a communist, then how can you be real Jewish, right?
אנחנו מקימים פה עם חדש.
So they had this vision of having new people, like new people. Like it's not a continuation of the Jewish tradition, but it's now something different that requires neglecting the 10 commandments because they really don't like the 10th commandment, don't they? Also the one that says that they shouldn't worship people like Stalin and stuff. Yeah, because these people, the communistic people, when Stalin died in 1953 on Purim from a stroke, they were crying and they were sad about here in Israel. This dude was planning actually had papers like real plans to have another Holocaust for all the Jews living in the USSR. You understand who they were mourning? Just like now the UN is mourning Raisi. They were mourning Stalin. And these people, unfortunately, took over many key points in Israel, and now we're suffering, but it's a global problem. So.
שמתגוששים. החזון של רחל המשוררת, שכשהיא רואה אווזים בחוות העלמות בכנרת, אז היא חולמת על תיקון עולם במלכות הסוציאליזם.
Yeah, so this is also something I touched on in my 10 Commandments video. It's Tikkun Olam versus Or LaGoyim. So she talks about Rachel is the poet who sees her vision was Tikkun Olam, which is fixing the world in a socialist sense. Like I said, like Tikkun Olam belongs more to Reform Judaism, and it's not very, how to say, it's like woke Judaism. It's not ingrained in the original Judaism. Original Judaism is like set an example, like look for morality, and by that you can be showing the way of how to live a moral life and how to conduct a healthy, good society, strong society, and be like light to the nations in that sense, where you can show that, hey, look, we built a strong society. There is something that we can an exemplary versus fixing the world, which is more of a communist way of thinking. It's like, the Islamists and the communists, they would starve and still pay for university professors to teach their billions of dollars. Like, why are they paying billions of dollars, the Iranians, to foreign entities in foreign countries when their own population is literally starving? Like, this is more important to them. Like, bringing communism to the world was more important than making sure that the people that living in communist Russia would have something to eat.
מי האלוהים? הסוציאליזם או הקדוש ברוך הוא?
We're saying, so who is God here? Is it socialism or God?
מי אנחנו?
Who
מה
are
הזהות
we?
שלנו פה?
What's our
זה מה
identity?
שמתגושש כאן.
This is what's happening.
יש חזון.
This is the what we are seeing right now, the clash between two visions. It's not that they don't have vision, they have a vision. And we have a
יש
vision.
חזון לשמאל.
The left has a vision.
והוא כועס עליך.
And he is mad at you.
ובצדק.
And they're right to be mad at you.
נתניהו.
And on Netanyahu. And they're right to be.
לי יש חזון.
Because they say, we have a vision. I had an opportunity. I took the opportunity. Of course, their vision.
באתי להתמודד עם המציאות הגיאופוליטית פה. יש פה ערבים, יש פה דמוגרפיה, יש פה עולם, רוסיה, אמריקה, איראן. אני חשבתי, על פי תפיסת העולם שלי, על פי תוכנת ההפעלה התודעתית שלי, על פי החזון שלי, אוקיי? הבאתי פתרון. ואתה, כל השנים, הסברת שאתה לא אני.
And he's saying, okay, so they brought a vision, right? They're saying, okay, so there is Iran, there is Russia, there is America, there is a geopolitical, there is demography, geopolitical situationship, and they brought a vision. We're like, okay, we have to disengage, we have to build a dome around us and be like, maybe like turn Israel to an island and like go away far, far. But because this is the way they think, like they can somehow disengage from reality and the world. But they're saying, okay, but at least we know what we wanted, right? We wanted to turn Israel to an island and go fly away. And it was like, okay, so what's your vision, right? You're just saying, okay, your vision is not my vision, but what is your vision?
ואז ב-77 ניצחת, וקיבלת את ההגה. והמשכת להגיד שאתה לא אני. ומה אתה? לא יודע, אבל אני לא שמאל. בשלב מסוים, נמאס. אתה כבר 20 שנה בשלטון. אתה עדיין מאשים אותי.
Yeah, at some point, like the left is going, you know what, like you've been controlling, in Israel at least, like the right, but why you blaming me for not applying your vision?
איך לעזאזל? זה מה שהוא אומר. ואתה יודע משהו? יש בזה משהו. יש בזה משהו. אז אנחנו יכולים להמשיך לפחד.
I think he's right, but the main obstacle for the right is not anything, like not because the people here don't know what's the vision, it's because the world backlash. Like here is like also, like this is also ignoring like Obama, right? Obama was 8 years that Israel just tried to survive. I'm serious, it was so scary when Obama was in power. Like, I was afraid he would just nuke us. He was so insane. The dude was absolutely batshit crazy. Like, as far as I'm concerned, Israel was just trying to survive, like literally survive for those 8 years.
מהבשורה שלנו, מהסיפור, מהצד היהודי במשוואה, או להתחיל להאמין לעצמנו שאנחנו יוצאים מגת.
And you're saying, but it is true, like, it's very complicated, you know, because like I know Netanyahu tried to go to the America, and they also, I saw like in the American parliament people talking about their belief system, and people were really mocking that. But he's saying it's like, it's time, but what he's saying is like, but I think what he's saying is obviously this is the time right now, right? Should we have done it before? Yes. Was the world ready to listen? This is the thing that I think he kind of ignores. I don't think you can do something when nobody lets you even speak up your mind, right? And I'm not talking about even in Israel. I'm speaking about the world. You cannot ignore the fact that Israel was under embargo, that there was nobody working with Israel. Like even getting out of this total like ignorance, like Israel is not even, I don't know, it's like Israel was a state and then it was like the country that everybody either attacked or ignored their existence. Like that was the situation. So yeah, I guess it was hard, but now I think things have changed. Israel is not a small country anymore. It's a medium-sized country population-wise. We are not just 4 million people now. We are almost 10 million people now. That's a big difference. And that now, yes, we can go and say, hey, for years, like Jews were saying, oh, we're a religion. It's like, why are we saying that? We know it's not true. Like Judaism is way more than a religion. Why we keep pretending it's a religion?
אנחנו יותר מדת. אנחנו תרבות. של עם שחוזר למולדתו.
They're gone back to the Jewish people. We have our culture. This is where we belong. We don't. We don't need the left. We don't need the American pragmatism.
פרגמטיות האמריקאית, אנחנו, כן, יש לנו את זה, ולהפסיק לפחד מעצמנו.
And we should stop being fearful of ourselves. But to be honest, I think that only now we're getting to the point where we can. Maybe we could have said it before. I don't know. We could have. Maybe we could have been clear about it before. I don't know. It's hard to tell.
את אותו ביטחון מטורף.
I know for sure that there is no other way. Right now, that's what has to be done. Like, I don't see any possible excuse not to be saying the truth about who we are. Like, being confident. This is ours. This is our land. This is our history. We have the moral high ground. We have the culture. We have the history. We have everything. And they, our neighbor, they need to learn from us. And not tomorrow. You know what? F that. Like who did the world get their moral campus from? The Jews. The Greeks? They didn't think in a moral system. Like, they didn't think the way Jews did. It's a completely different way of thinking, which I want to touch on in a different. But a lot of people are like, no, we inherited the culture of the Romans and the Greeks. Yeah, you have. But the moral system, the freedom, everything that America believes in and like the free world believes in originally, like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, that's all Jewish thinking. This is all Jewish philosophy.
שיש להם באלוהים, באלים שלהם. מותר שיהיה לנו קצת באלוהים שלנו.
And this is amazing, like their death and destruction and obviously less sophisticated ideology and philosophical system that is, I mean, he doesn't name it, but obviously he's talking about our neighbors and beyond. They believe in their idol so much. When it's, what does this idol represent? Like the worst of the worst. Like, shouldn't we be proud of our actual, real ideology?
הלוואי שהיה טיפה מהאמוניות של השמאל.
I always wish that we had we have to have the same self-conviction that the left has. And I think this is true worldwide. It's not just the Jews versus the world, or us in Israel, the Israeli right versus the Israeli left, or the Israelis versus the Palestinians, or anything like that. It's like global now. We can see it globally, right? Those who believe in freedoms and human dignity and human rights, and those who believe in power structures, in taking whatever you can when you can, and just crushing anyone that disagrees with you. This is like the culture of debate versus the culture of reading of a page, the pre-made arguments that you have.
והחריב מדינה שלמה. עולם ישן עד היסוד, הביא לכאן חבית של נחשים מתוניס, והציב אותה בכניסה לקיבוץ בארי.
Like they're gonna burn the world, and they'll manage to do it because they would have no real contra-vision.
אם אתה רוצה לעבור עליו או לא. והבעיה שלי היא לא השמאל. והיא לא הבג"ץ, והיא לא מערכת הביטחון. אתה הבעיה שלי, את הבעיה שלי. למה? כי אתם מפחדים מעצמכם.
He says, the problem is not the jurisdictional system or the FBI or the security. I mean, he doesn't say FBI, I'm saying for us, like globally. It's us, like it's the right. Like we are afraid of ourselves. We don't speak, we don't say. Like we have those woke university students going back home, and the parents are like, oh, they believe in this and that, and nobody's confronting them properly. Why? Why is nobody saying, hey, a guy is a guy and a girl is a girl? Like, stop, like a woman is a woman and a man is a man. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, why is it like, why do they have the ability to have this fringe, crazy minority that speak, and nobody is standing up and saying, the king is naked? He's not wearing anything. They're not wearing anything. What's wrong with you? Like, if there is a drag queen in the middle of a mall reading a story to children, the whole mall should be like, hey, this is inappropriate. Like, why is the mall quiet? There are people passing by. Nobody's stopping to say, guys, this is inappropriate. children shouldn't be seeing those boobs next, like in their faces. This is inappropriate.
אז עוד לא היה 7 באוקטובר.
But now, like, we are seeing the consequences. Like now, like in Israel, we have had the 7th of October. Worldwide, we see that women get raped in jail by inmates that pretend to be women who are rapists. Like, how ridiculous. Like, this is the time. This is where, like, we are seeing the consequences of this toxic ideology. And if we cannot stand up now and fight back, then of course we're gonna lose.
עכשיו, כשאנחנו בתוך האסון ממש, ומתקדמים...
This is a disaster that we're all going...
אתם תעברו את הגשר? אפילו לסמוך על החלום של עצמכם?
Are you gonna trust yourself now?
יש לו אפס חזון.
Or are you gonna give those...
להמשיך להוביל אתכם, לאן? לאן שמראה השמאל. אין לנו ברירה אחרת. נגמר הסיפור של הפרגמטיזם. תשכחו מהשמאל. הוא לא אשם
It's like, okay, we don't have a choice anymore. Forget about being pragmatic. Forget about finding the middle ground. No, like, forget about the left. You have to be clear about what we want and our vision. And what's right or wrong.
ילך אחריי.
The left will follow you. Like, will follow us. Will follow him. Will follow those who have a vision. Those kids look for a vision. If you're gonna tell them clearly what's your vision, then they're gonna follow you.
איך אני יודע?
And you say, how do I know?
תיכנסו לדושי.
They're talking about, you can see, like, the left here in Israel, the youngsters, those who are still participating now in those protests, they're only, like, they're 60 plus. Like, those are people who are old, right? Because the rest, once the new vision was presented to them, they stopped going. They were like, okay, oh, there is an alternative. So the question is, are you presenting an alternative to the concerns and the thoughts that the people have wherever you are, right? What's the alternative? There has to be some...
יש לך, גם הדור הצעיר, הפחות מגיל 40, במרכז שמאל, הצעירים הבינו ב7 לאוקטובר שאין להם כיוון.
Here's the thing, like, the reality now is so clear. This is our advantage, and we should really take advantage of that. So, you guys talk, speak up. You see something that's wrong in the street, talk, say something. This is inappropriate. Somebody has to say it. And then you'd be surprised how many people would agree with you. Even those kids that are sitting and listening to this, I don't know, inappropriate or seeing this inappropriate show would be like, I think this dude is right. I don't think it's appropriate for my age. I know my sister did that. She was like, at some point, she was like, I don't think I'm old enough for this, and left. Because you'd be surprised. If somebody's gonna say, hey, the king is naked, you'd be surprised how many people are gonna agree with you. Because we are all saying what we're saying, And it's not fair that a crazy minority, by being so violent and crazy, are controlling the rest of us. But we cannot blame them. We cannot blame them because we are not doing our job either. So I like this speech, and I thought it was pretty true to all of us. And so that's it. Like, comment, subscribe, share this video. And thank you very much for watching. See ya.